Vivian, nice to meet you guys. Thanks for coming, everyone. I do partnership stuff at Optimism, and I'm so excited to welcome our most esteemed, important partners, teams that have been building on the OP stack, launching OP chains, and doing super cool stuff and being part of the super chain. So thank you so much for coming, joining here, and talking to this crowd.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So let us start with James. So James, founder of Mode and previous CEO of Hype. Where's the Hype team? I saw where you worked with top blockchain orgs on community, creative, and growth campaigns. James is also wearing a very expensive tracksuit today, so dressed up for the occasion. So James, I looked a little bit into when Mode was announced, and I saw that in one of the personal announcements about Mode, you said that the goal with Mode is to innovate with a growth-first approach. Can you share a little bit more about what that actually means for users and developers, and how you actually implement that into Mode?
Yeah, absolutely. So the core goal for us is to try and build new economic systems for growth. So on the developer side, we've started building out a sequencer fee sharing mechanism. So as a developer, you can deploy a contract, and you can start earning sequencer fees. On the user side, we've built in a referral style network. So when you refer your friends to Mode, you start to earn a share of their network fees as well. So thinking about how can we tie in all these different growth mechanics that we see lots of Web 2 companies do, how can we support those at the kind of chain level, protocol level?
Cool. So you basically, having your own chain unlocked the ability to earn sequencer fees, and
Exactly.
You're redistributing that back to the users and growth.
Exactly.
So what's been the developer reaction to this model?
I think developers in general really like the idea, but yeah, we have to launch on mainnet to see how it plays out. I think there are a few things which developers like. The first is that they're earning ETH, which everyone likes right now, as ETH seems to be doing quite well. It also gives some predictability. So you can deploy an application, you might get 100 transactions run through it, and you start to earn a little bit, and you go, okay, if I 100x this, 10x this, or 100x this, I can predictably see how much I can earn. And then, when you layer grants on top of that, it becomes quite interesting. I think right now, there are a lot of questions for developers when they're looking at new chains. There's so many L2s, there's lots of L1s, they're thinking, okay, which chain do I choose? And we're trying to make it as easy as possible to get started and show that when you deploy something, you'll start to earn something back if it's used. So yeah, that's the proposition there.
Yeah, I love that. So tell me a little bit about why you chose to build this vision of the superchain.
So the key for us was really trying to find a partner who was production ready. So there are lots of different solutions that exist right now, but not all of them are really production ready. The key thing for us is we wanted to move really fast and test everything as quickly as possible. And the Optimism team and OP Stack has been, well used. It's been audited a bunch of times. It's very secure. And also, there's a lot of support available for teams building to help us get started super quickly. So we're going to launch our dev mainnet on Thursday. And yeah, that will be the beginning of hopefully a long journey together.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of production ready, I think, segue to ZK applications. Victor, co-founder of Manta. I learned just now that Manta was actually incubated at Optimism Hackathon last year. So honor for that project to be here on stage with us today as an OP chain. But Victor, tell us a little bit about the applications that you're building on Manta and what ZK unlocks for those applications.
Yes, thank you. So basically, we've been building ZK application level ZK start from privacy back in 3 years before. In the DeFi summer, we've been doing privacy DeFi, multi-asset privacy, and reusable address. All of these are kind of unique stuff compared to like Tornado Cash. But we start on Polkadot, but actually the ecosystem is not working, and there's a lot of dependency. And since last year, we start to like explore more use case than only DeFi. And then we like start to work on credentials, and also another use case is on the gaming side. So basically, we build something called Universal Circuit, and this circuit enable developers. They don't need to learn new language like Cairo or Noor, but they just use Solidity to call the like contracts, and this contract is coming from ZK circuit, and we basically like abstract this contract into the we abstract the circuit like from Circon to the contract. So they just call contract to build some new use cases within the network. One of the good use case is called ZK Shuffle. It's basically like they can build a fully on-chain like game without server, and the ZK within this use case is for the like shuffling the card and the distribute the card. It's been proof on-chain, and it's fully randomized, and it's private. So you cannot see the card from Block Explorer, but there's no server. All the game logic is on-chain. So that's kind of the new use case we build on like OP Stack, and right now we only launched. We are building this layer 2 within 3 months, and we just launched like mainnet within 1 month. We're shipping really fast, and right now we have more than 100 projects built on us. Every week there's new fully on-chain games using this kind of like contracts. And there's other DeFi certified these kind of things within the ecosystem. So yeah, that's kind of the story.
So we'll get back to the OP stack, but I'm curious in terms of zero knowledge applications. What are the biggest challenges that need to be overcome in this space?
I think ZK is basically goes to 2 directions right now. One direction is some people really try to make it like make it able to use for users. So it's like user-facing ZK. Another direction goes to research-facing ZK. Like it can go really hype for VC, but it's basically not going to able to use for next 3 years. But what we are focused is really like user-facing adoption, like credentials. We launched we launched our ZK SBT like only since April, and it have 600,000 minted on the network. And like I think also the fully on-chain game, I think basically I think it's really hard for a developer to really build this kind of like circuits especially for application level developer. They're really good at tokenomic design, or really good at even the contracts in Solidity, but it's really hard to build circuit. It's really easy to build something under constraint, and it's huge security issue. But we basically build all of this for them. They just call contract. No need cryptography knowledge. Yeah.
Interesting. Very cool. So going back to the OP stack, why did you decide to build this on using the OP stack?
Yeah, it's the only option we have right now. We ship really fast, and we do really aggressive adoption because I think we do want more infrastructure in the future can able to work, even like multi-prover, like also the ZK Oracle, but all of this based on assumption that the ZK use case can be really get huge adoption. So we need to get there. Like I think what we try to do is launch the OP stack first and make it really work, and show there's can be great use case, great growth, and that's actually already happened right now. And then we can keep building better, further infrastructure on top of that, to make it more scaling, make it more complete. Yeah.
That's amazing. honestly very impressed by the speed that you guys shipped Manta. I believe one of the reasons is you worked with one of our implementation RAS partners. Right? I think we have a panel on that after that, so come listen on that. But the Caldera team helped with a lot of the speed and shipping, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I think we are actually the largest client for the Rust space right now. Is basically demonstrate this whole landscape is working now. We do have really great engineers on the application level ZK, but we don't want to spend too much time on the infrastructure.
Yep.
And because we've been spend a lot of time on other infrastructure before, it's kind of take too much time for us. But we find that's a great combination.
Yeah, and that's one of the goals. So to build the stack, build the infrastructure and the partners so that you guys can develop applications.
Yeah.
Cool, Roberto. So you've done a lot. You're a distinguished software engineer on the base team. You also were a distinguished software engineer at Google for 16 years. And you're right now also a contributor to the OP stack as part of the core dev team, working on things like getting EIP 4844 ready on the OP stack. So shifting, base, I think everybody knows base. You guys had an extraordinary launch, right? Probably a milestone in Web3 history. And one of the key messages that you guys really put out there at your launch was your commitment to decentralization and neutrality. Can you talk a little bit more about why decentralization was so critical to base?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for the kudos on the launch. We're really pleased with how it went as well. Very pleasantly surprised. We expected it to do okay, but we had some real confluence of events and some really good work from the biz dev teams and a lot of help from OP Labs as well. And yeah, so now we're really focusing on just keeping that momentum going. But with respect to our commitment to decentralization, we view that as pretty much essential for enabling an open and global economy. And that kind of goes to the core of Coinbase's mission, which is to increase economic freedom throughout the world. We think everyone should have access to stable currencies, for example. Doesn't matter where you live, you should still have that opportunity. You should be able to transact with anyone across borders with minimal friction. And so naturally, if you do the math, the only way you're going to achieve that is through a platform that's going to be open and accessible to all. And we believe that the only platform that can deliver on that is that one that's decentralized. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally agree, right? I mean, we're all here because we believe in decentralization and Web3. So really, really kind of respectful to see Coinbase really put their foot, kind of really establish the foothold in decentralization. So one of the things that the Optimism and Base team worked on for a while was kind of the thought around having key management structure that didn't have a single point of failure. So digging a little bit more into decentralization, why was this so critical for you guys to get right?
Yeah, I mean, you already sort of hinted at it. That's that central point of failure. If you're building a decentralized system, it needs to be robust to things like, someone coming and telling Coinbase you can't do X, Y, or Z, right? We don't want to be the only ones that are managing the sequencer for eternity, for example. Right now, our sequencer is permissionless. We want it to keep it that way. It needs to be, credibly decentralized in order for that to be, I guess, enshrined, if that's maybe not quite the right word. So yeah, getting that key management structure is an initial way of not just making sure that keys are managed securely, but to eliminating that potential source of failure that you never know can arise from who knows where.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so you've worked on a lot of interesting projects in your career. As a core dev team contributing to OP Stack, what's the most exciting thing that you're working on right now?
Oh man, do I have to pick just one?
No.
Well, if I had to pick one, I'm going to be a little bit from my personal interests and personal contributions, you already mentioned I've been working on 4844 for quite some time. We view scaling as a critical need. We want to bring 100 million Coinbase users on chain. The only way we're going to do that is if we deliver on the scaling roadmap for Ethereum. So 4844 delivers, I don't know how versed people are in EIPs in this audience, but basically it's sort of the first feature that allows L2s to store data on the L1 in a way that's much more affordable. And that means you can dramatically lower costs of your L2 transactions, increase scale. And it's a very first step, I think, in that L2 scaling roadmap of Ethereum. It should go live probably early next year. If I had to guess, I'd say early February. It's making wonderful progress. Most clients have fully implemented it now. We're just sort of in the testing phase. So yeah, now I'm personally working on extending the OP stack to be able to take advantage of that when it goes live. So we'll immediately see kind of a massive fee drop is kind of our expectation. Exactly how much, it's hard to predict, depends on how much we grow the demand. But yeah, so I think that's probably the one thing, if forced to choose anything, it would be that. But I mean, there's also things like alpha fraud proofs going out, right? That's amazing. Well, the super chain. I just talked to Proto for over an hour yesterday about the interop roadmap for super chains. So yeah, it's hard to pick one. I mean, all this stuff is super cool.
Sharing a lot of alpha right now. What's on the roadmap? I see that we're supposed to go to questions, but I do have one. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. This is one for everybody. What application in your respective ecosystems are you most bullish about right now? James.
Super experimental DeFi. I don't know what that means yet, but that's what we're going for.
Why are you so excited about that? What does that mean? What's super experimental?
I think that there needs to be a more degen L2. So yeah. We're gonna be happy to. We've been funding some applications which are working on some cool stuff in that area. So excited to see them launch.
Cool. Victor.
Yeah, we are really interested on on the fully on-chain game. That's kind of the bet we chose. Basically the thesis is from 2017 to 2020, everyone don't think, DeFi can happen that fast. And this actually happened, everyone start to use Uniswap instead of Binance. And, in last cycle, since 2020, Axie Infinity take off, but it's still there's only NFT and, tokens. But I think, after 3 years, the game logic, some of the game logic can be fully on-chain. And that's actually make the game really fair and decentralized. So that's our thesis.
Bullish on fully on-chain games. Yeah. Agree. Roberto, you have a lot to choose from.
There's a lot of really interesting apps on Base already. I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard of FriendTech. But I think I'm most bullish on whatever is next. And I think whatever is next is going to take advantage of a few things that we're also working on. One of them is attestations. You may have seen a recent announcement where you can actually go and attest on chain that you're a KYC Coinbase user, right? I think there's going to be an explosion of identity use cases that take advantage of things such as attestations, ENS. And that opens up a lot of opportunities in the Web3 social space, for example. And so, yeah, FriendTech is a great initial example, I think, of some social on-chain stuff. But it's also still largely dominated, I think, by trading. So I want to see an app that kind of goes beyond that trading dynamic and really starts building the on-chain communication, community, identity, all that stuff. Yeah.
How are we on time, Tony?
Am I rambling too much? So.
Okay. Does this mean questions? Okay. I can just go on all day. And we talked a little about the applications, but tell me what is on your roadmap in the next 6 months that you're excited about? Victor, you're looking right at me like you haven't.
I think like the first thing we are going to working is like we are going to work is the like integrate Celestia SDA. So I think we are the first and the only EVM like going to do that within I think next 2 months. Uh, yeah, I think I do have pretty big expectation on the 4844, and we just take different approach, to really lower the gas fee of layer 2, and like Celestia is there, and we just choose that approach right now, and it possibly to become Optimism like based on L2Bs, but let's see how that goes. Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about the trade-off in that you thought about in using L1 DA versus alternative DA?
It's just cheaper. And
All right, cool.
yeah, I mean, like,
Easy.
yeah, I don't think it's going to be that much, like a security issue because it's DAS and also it's a blockchain. So let's see how that goes. And also our test nets have been integrated with Celestia DA for the past 3 months, and yeah, it's been running well for more than 4 million transactions.
Cool. So Roberto, you talked a little bit about attestations. What else is on the base roadmap?
Improving usability. I've spoken to a few people. One of the things that I think we have not done a good job yet is getting Coinbase's kind of Web 2 users to become Web 3 users. If you look at the user base of Base, it's still pretty dominated by kind of Web 3 natives, right? So there's a huge opportunity there to start converting more traditional web users into Web 3 users and adopting all this great stuff that everyone in this room is starting to build. So things like account abstraction, we've got a couple people going full tilt at that. We work very closely with the Coinbase Wallet team. How can we smooth out those rough edges of onboarding? This is why we do things like gasless transactions for USDC on Base. But yeah, so big effort in usability. I'm not personally working on that side. I work more on the platform side. But I fully recognize in both of you have mentioned things about focusing on users as well. Absolutely critical.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100 million users. Got to get them on chain.
Well, if you're Jesse, you'd say a billion users, right?
Billion users.
Yeah. But we'll 100
100
million for starters will be pretty good to get to.
All right, so final question for James. What's on your roadmap? Tell us what you're excited about.
So DevNet, Thursday, mainnet, like public, a few weeks after. We're going to do a campaign of like something happening for the first month.
Look out for the campaign.
That will run DeFi ecosystem, maybe some gaming stuff. Try and like make some tooling for other chains to use sequencer fee sharing if they want. Build out that. Work with Axiom using their ZK coprocessor to have proofs on that so people know like when the calculation is made around sequencer fees, it's accurate. And yeah, just testing a load of like growth experiments. We actually did one on FriendTech where we tried to like see how that worked to get more ideas on SocialFi. So yeah, loads of experiments.
Very exciting. DevNet Thursday, and you're here with us today.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do we questions? Do we have time? Ooh. As a new L2 on OP Stack, one of the biggest roadblockers is integrations with other tooling. How have you managed building and deploying those, and do you work together? Oh, good question. No one, not targeted to anyone specific.
Well, I guess I can start. We just had Lucas from our team present some stuff on OP, WAGMI and OPVM. So we are actually investing considerably in tooling that is compatible with the OP stack to simplify application development. I don't know if that's exactly getting at what the question, what's being asked.
PGN,
Okay.
that's the question.
Excellent, excellent.
How have you, like, since I'm assuming all of these chains are going to need the same tooling to onboard other devs to be able to actually use, like,
Yeah. So we've released this open source. So
We should be working together.
more than welcome. We'd be delighted to have more contributors on this stuff. But yeah, I think it generally starts as just maybe one team starting the project. But I think these things can blossom into a lot more. But just getting started on a lot of this.
Yeah, I think we should. We have a lot of we spend a lot of effort on the really basic toolings like oracles and the indexer. And recently, I think we finalized some of those, But I think it could actually doing much efficient way. And I'm even thinking all the L2s should compare the price together about Oracle to make sure they're not overcharging us,
Yes.
If you are building L2, you will know what happens to this. And it can be a lot of trouble within the this kind of conversation, and I kind of hate this because it's really centralized. You will need to sign a contract, but that's how the process looks like.
Yeah. So one of the initiatives we're working on, Optimism, is democratizing all of this very expensive tooling and lowering the costs for you guys. But this is something that we need to do together, right? And that was the whole vision of the superchain, the collective bargaining power, and building out the tooling for all the chains. But yeah, good
And
question.
retro funding sure is a
And
big
retro
factor
funding,
of that,
which
right?
leads me to my next question. How can public goods leverage your chains?
Yeah, I don't.
Build tooling. Build tooling for these chains, and you get retro public goods. Jonas will guarantee that. Just kidding. He can't guarantee that.
Yeah, how can they leverage the chain? How can they help the chain?
How can they help or leverage the chain? From Chris.
How can they?
What's the question? How can public goods leverage the chains, or how can they help the chains? It's a question from Chris. Okay.
Yeah, because I think the public good funding, primarily right now, it's funding the ecosystem and the platform to a large extent, including tooling, right? But yeah, maybe it could also help build things on these chains. I think that would be an interesting. Someone comes up with an interesting app that is broadening the ecosystem. Maybe it makes sense as well. Yeah.
Retro public goods funding, anybody building on any of these chains is eligible for retro public goods funding. So you build something cool for Base or Mode or Manta, and you're eligible to receive public goods funding.
Yeah, we need to see more of that.
Yeah. All right. That is all the time we have for this amazing group. Thank you so much, and yeah. Keep building.